Hello, all my dear students, and welcome to Sri Jendra Rank Zone classes. I'm Amit Ajmani, your mentor, and we'll be continuing up the topic life processes. Till now, we know that life processes includes four basic life processes, that is nutrition and respiration and transportation and excretion. Till now, we have done nutrition and respiration, and in this particular lecture we will be discussing about another life process, that is transportation. Now, what exactly is transportation? We know it is the process of carrying of various substances from one part of the body to various other parts. What is the need of transportation? Why it is considered to be a life process is the reason is quite simple, that the body of an organism is made up of millions of cells, and all these cells require food, oxygen, water, nutrients for their functioning. So in order to provide them with all these essential substances, the transportation system is needed, and that is why it is considered to be a life process. Let us study the process of transportation in animals a bit in detail. Now, in animals, there are two systems of transportation. One is the blood circulatory system, and another is the lymphatic system. We have to study these two systems in detail one by one. So, let us start up first with the blood circulatory system. Now, this blood circulatory system further consists of three things. One is blood, second is the blood vessels, and third is the heart. We'll be studying about all these in details. Starting up with blood. We know that blood is a fluid connective tissue, and it is the main medium of transport which transports everything, whether it is nutrients or gases or the waste products, to and from all cells of the body. This blood is composed of 90% of water, and its constituents are: number one, plasma. What is plasma? Plasma is a pale yellow colored fluid which is also known as fluid matrix. This plasma contains about 92% of water, and the main function of plasma is to transport food, carbon dioxide, various salts, hormones, and nitrogenous waste like urea in the dissolved form. Now, this plasma actually consists of three further things. What are these? One are the RBCs, or the red blood corpuscles, which are also known as erythrocytes. Now, these RBCs impart red color to blood, and they contain hemoglobin. This hemoglobin is called the respiratory pigment, or the oxygen carrier, as it carries oxygen to all the cells. Right? The next component of plasma are the WBCs, or the white blood corpuscles, or the leukocytes. Now, these WBCs are called the soldiers of our body. Why? Because they fight against all the foreign material or any disease causing microorganism entering the body through any means, whether it is food or water or air. Apart from RBCs and WBCs, another thing are the platelets. These platelets are the tiny fragments of special cells which are formed in the bone marrow. They are enucleated, they do not have any nucleus, and they help in blood coagulation, that is the clotting of blood. A few additional details we need to remember regarding these are: The red blood corpuscles are circular or concave in shape, and they do not have nuclei, due to which their lifespan is very small. They do not live for long. It is just around for 4 months, right? And because their lifespan is so small, they have to be made quickly in our body. Where they are made? They are made in red bone marrow. The white blood corpuscles are either spherical or irregular in shape. They have a nucleus, and they are much less in number in blood as compared to the RBCs. They are also made in red bone marrow. All the blood cells are made in bone marrow from the cell called stem cells, right? So these are all the composition of blood. Now, what are the various functions performed by blood? Blood performs various functions. Number one, mainly transportation. Blood helps in the transportation of substances like respiratory gases, that are oxygen and carbon dioxide. It also transports digested food or nutrients. It transports the waste products like urea, and it transports the hormones, the chemical substances required for the growth and control coordination for the body. So, the main function of blood is it acts as the main medium of transport in our body. Apart from transportation, it also helps in the protection of the body from various pathogens, that is, the disease causing microorganisms and the various foreign material entering in our body. And how does it do it? It does it through WBCs, white blood corpuscles. Blood also helps in the regulation of our body temperature because it carries heat from one part of the body to another. Now, the plasma of blood, it transports hormones from the place of synthesis to the required place for the coordination in the working of the body. And the platelets which are present in blood, they form a clot wherever there is a site of injury, so that no further loss of blood should be done. So it prevents the further loss of blood, right? Now this blood flows all over the body and maintains the water level to a constant level which is required by the body. So these are the functions of blood. Now this blood flows in blood vessels, and these blood vessels are of further three types: arteries, veins, and blood capillaries. Let us try to understand all these three one by one. First of all, starting up with the arteries. Arteries are thick walled blood vessels, and arteries carry oxygenated blood, with an exception of pulmonary artery, which carries deoxygenated blood. Other than pulmonary artery, all the arteries in our body carry oxygenated blood, and they carry blood from heart to all the body parts. In the arteries, there are no walls present. Blood flows in them at a great speed and with a great pressure, with jerks. That is why they are thick walled blood vessels, so that they can actually tolerate this great pressure of blood flowing in them. The lumen, that is the width or the diameter of arteries, is small, and after death, no blood is present in arteries. These arteries are deeply seated in our body. Now, when we compare these arteries to the veins, we can very well see the differences. Veins are thin walled blood vessels. Why thin walls? Because blood flows in them at less speed, with less pressure, and quite smoothly. These veins carry deoxygenated blood, means carbon dioxide rich blood. Again, there is an exception, that is the pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood, and apart from pulmonary vein, all the other veins carry deoxygenated blood. and they carry the blood in the opposite direction as that of the arteries, that is from the body parts to heart. Quite important thing is that valves are present in the veins, and the function of the valves is to prevent the backflow of blood. The lumen of the veins is quite wide and blood is present in them even after death, and these veins are superficial. So in one way, these are all the differences between the arteries and the veins. What all are the differences? Arteries are thick-walled, veins are thin-walled. Arteries carry oxygenated blood, veins carry deoxygenated blood. Arteries carry blood from the heart to body parts, veins carry blood from the body parts to heart. In arteries, no valves are present, but in veins, valves are present. In arteries, blood flows with great speed, with great pressure, and with jerks. But in veins, it flows with less speed, less pressure, and smoothly. The lumen of arteries is quite small, whereas veins, it is quite wide. Arteries are deeply seated in the body, veins are superficial. And after death of a person, blood is not present in arteries, but it is present in veins. Right? The third type of blood vessels, which are the minutest, the smallest ones, they are the capillaries. They are very thin-walled blood vessels, and they carry both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. They actually connect the arteries and veins, and blood flows in them at less speed, with less pressure, and smoothly. Their lumen is very small, and in capillaries also blood remains after death. These capillaries are present all over the body. They are superficial also as well as deeply seated also. So these are the three types of blood vessels, that is arteries, veins, and blood capillaries. Fine. Now, first we studied about the blood. Then we studied about the second part of the blood circulatory system, that is the blood vessels. And third is the most important part of the blood circulatory system, that is the human heart. Now, heart is the most important part of the blood circulatory system because it is the main pumping organ of our body. Heart pumps blood which is circulated throughout the body. Talking about the heart, it is roughly triangular in shape and it is approximately of the size of our clenched fist. Talking about the structure of the heart, this heart is surrounded by a layer called pericardium, which protects it. Furthermore, the heart is divided into two equal halves, that is left and right part, through a muscular partition which is called septum. These left and right parts are further divided into chambers, two chambers each. The upper one are called atrium, the plural is atria, which is also known as auricles, and the lower two chambers are called the ventricles. Now, between these atria and ventricles, valves are present. Bicuspid and tricuspid valves are present between the auricles and the ventricles, and wherever valves are present, whether it is in the veins or it is in the heart, the function of valves is always to prevent backflow of blood. The left part of the heart is for oxygenated blood and the right part is for deoxygenated blood. Now, when the pumping in the heart takes place, then both the auricles, that is upper two parts, they always contract and relax together, and both the ventricles, that is the lower two chambers, they contract and relax together, and auricles and ventricles, they do it alternatively. When the auricles are contracting, the ventricles will relax, and vice versa. When the auricles are relaxing, the ventricles will contract. When the auricles contract. They push the blood down to the ventricles, and when the ventricles contract, they push the blood with great pressure to be transported to all the other parts of the body. Now, through ventricles, because blood has to be transported to all the body parts, that is why it has to be pushed with great pressure. And to withstand and to tolerate that pressure, the ventricles have thick walls as compared to the auricles. Reason? Quite simple. They have to push blood with great pressure so as to travel longer distance. Now, in our heart, there is an SA node, which is the sinoatrial node. This is present in heart from where the electrical impulses, that is, our heartbeat originates. And in case this SA node is not working in any person, then an artificial pacemaker is used to generate those electrical impulses in order to generate the heartbeat. So this is all about our heart. Let us try to relate this heart with the help of this diagram. This is basically what a heart looks like. First thing, let us try to relate each and everything one by one. This is the outer protective covering of the heart, which is called pericardium. Now the heart is divided into two parts through this muscular partition. This muscular partition is called septum. This is a wall partition which basically divides the heart into two parts, left and right. Furthermore, these left and right parts we said are divided into further chambers. The upper two chambers are called the auricles. This is the right auricle, which is also known as atrium, and this is the left atrium. And the lower parts are called the ventricles. This is the right ventricle and the left ventricle. These are two valves, valve V1 and valve V2, which are present between the auricles and the ventricles. This is basically what we have studied till now. Now there are various arteries and veins which come and go through the heart because they will carry blood from heart and they will carry blood to heart. These are pulmonary veins which are coming from lungs, the main artery, that is the aorta, the pulmonary artery which carries blood to lungs, and the vein that is the vena cava. We'll be studying in detail about these four just after this topic. So this is basically human heart, right? Now let us try to understand how exactly the circulation takes place in heart. This is the circulation in heart. This is we have represented with the help of a flowchart. We have assumed this to be our heart, not the actual shape, just a box in order to demonstrate. The upper two parts are the atriums, right atrium and the left atrium. The lower two parts are the ventricles, right and left ventricle. V2 and V1 are the valves, right? Now, the circulation in humans start through lungs, where in respiration, previous lecture we studied about how we breathe in oxygen and that oxygen through the passage finally goes to the alveoli in lungs. Now from alveoli, this oxygen is diffused into blood. From lungs, this oxygen rich oxygenated blood is carried to the left atrium of the heart, and the work is done by pulmonary vein. So the function of pulmonary vein is to carry oxygenated blood from lungs to the left atrium of the heart. And it is an exception because we have seen veins normally they carry deoxygenated blood except this pulmonary vein. Now when this blood comes into the left atrium, it actually expands because the blood is entering it, filling it. Now when the blood is filled in left atrium, now what will happen is this left atrium is going to contract, and all the blood present in the left atrium will go into the left ventricle through this valve V1, that is the bicuspid valve. Once the blood goes down, this valve will automatically close, so that the blood which has reached the left ventricle now should not backflow, should not go back to the left atrium. Now what will happen is this left ventricle will contract, and when it contracts, then all the blood is carried by the main artery of our body. The name of the main artery is aorta. This aorta carries the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle of the heart to the various body organs through a network of blood vessels. The oxygen present in blood will diffuse into the cells, where we know that in mitochondria the process of oxidation of glucose will take place, resulting in the release in energy, and along with that the release of carbon dioxide. So now what happens is blood takes the oxygen to all the body parts, gives oxygen to the cells, and this carbon dioxide diffuses back into the blood. So ultimately, blood is basically giving the oxygen and collecting carbon dioxide. Now this blood slowly turns into deoxygenated blood. Now all this deoxygenated blood from all the body parts, they are collected in the main vein, which is the vena cava. This vena cava is further of two types. One is superior vena cava and one is inferior vena cava, taking the blood from the upper part of the body and the lower part of the body. And this main vein now carries all the deoxygenated blood to the right atrium. So the function of main vein, the function of vena cava is to carry deoxygenated blood from the body organs to the right atrium. Now, right atrium will contract and this blood will go down into the right ventricle through the valve V2. So, right atrium is contracting and the right ventricle is relaxing because the blood is filling right ventricle. Once the blood goes down, now this valve V2 will close once again to prevent the backflow of blood. Now it is the turn of right ventricle to contract. Now when this right ventricle will contract, then this blood will be passed on to pulmonary artery, which will carry this deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle of the heart to the lungs. Clear? Pulmonary artery once again is an exception because arteries carry oxygenated blood, but here pulmonary artery is carrying deoxygenated blood, we can see. Now this carbon dioxide diffuses back to the alveoli in lungs and it is exhaled out, and by this time once again we have inhaled and more oxygen has entered the lungs. This oxygen will once again be carried by pulmonary vein and the whole process will continue. Now if you try to relate in this particular flow chart, we can see that the blood is carried from lungs to the heart, and from the heart it is taken back to the lungs. This is a kind of cycle, a circulation that keeps on going. And this circulation of blood between lungs and heart is called pulmonary circulation. This is called pulmonary circulation. Again, blood is getting circulated from the heart to body parts and from the body parts to heart. So this is another type of cycle or circulation continued. This circulation of blood between heart and body organs, this is known as systemic circulation. So two types of circulation are taking place simultaneously, and that is why the circulation in humans is called double circulation. Why double circulation? Because pulmonary and systemic two circulations are taking place simultaneously. Why double circulation? Because from lungs, when the blood goes to heart, from heart it goes to body organs, from body organs to heart, and from heart again to lungs. So in one complete cycle, the blood is going through heart twice. That is why it is called as double circulation. Fine. This is about double circulation in humans. Quite important. And very important, you need to relate these main four names: the pulmonary vein, the main artery, that is the aorta, the main vein, that is vena cava, and pulmonary artery. And you need to relate the functions of each one of them. What is the function of pulmonary artery? The function of pulmonary artery is to carry oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium of heart. The function of aorta is to carry oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to the body organs. The function of main vein or vena cava is to carry deoxygenated blood from the body organs to the right atrium. And the function of pulmonary artery is to carry deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. Another thing we can observe is that the left side of the blood is for oxygenated blood, and the right side of the heart that deals with the deoxygenated blood. Furthermore, we can also relate and observe that the atria, both of them, left and right atria, they receive blood. The left atria receives the oxygenated blood, the right atria receives the deoxygenated blood. When they contract, they just allow the blood to go down to the ventricles, and it is the function of ventricles to push the blood. When ventricles contract, they push the blood to travel to the body organs. When the left ventricle contracts, the blood is pushed to the body organs, and when the right ventricle contracts, it pushes the blood to the lungs. Clear? So many things we can observe and we should relate when it comes to the circulation in humans. So this is all about our human heart, and this is all about the circulation in humans. Now, when we talk about mammals and birds, we all have four chambered heart. There are four chambers, but fishes have only two chambered heart. Reptiles and amphibians have three chambered heart. Why is it so? Quite important to understand. Number one, first of all, let's talk about fishes. Now we know that fishes have gills, and they take the oxygen which is dissolved in water, right? Through mouth, they will take water. That water goes into the gills from where oxygen is taken in. That is why they do not require the chambers in the heart to have space for oxygen, because that is transported through gills. That is why fishes have two chambered heart. Now, when we talk about reptiles and amphibians, they are cold-blooded animals. Cold-blooded animals means their body temperature changes according to their surroundings. That is why their energy requirements are low, and that is why they can tolerate mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. That is why they have got a three-chambered heart. But when it comes to mammals and birds, we are warm-blooded animals. That means we have a constant fixed body temperature. It does not changes with the temperature of the surrounding. And in order to maintain that fixed temperature, a lot of energy is required. And that is why we cannot tolerate the mixing of the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood. That is why we have got four chambered heart. Clear? So different organisms have different number of chambers in their heart depending upon their requirement. Now quite important is our blood pressure. What is blood pressure? It is the pressure at which blood is pumped around the body by the heart. And very importantly, you will find lot many questions related to it. This blood pressure is measured with an instrument called sphygmomanometer. Quite important, you will find it lot many times. Now this blood pressure is not a fixed constant one value. It is also further of two types, that is systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. What are these? Let us try to relate. The pressure of the blood inside the arteries during the ventricular systole, that is the contraction when the ventricles are contracting, that pressure is systolic pressure. And when ventricles contract, they push the blood at great pressure. That is why the systole or the systolic pressure is always more. And the pressure of blood when the ventricle are relaxing, that is ventricular diastole. That is when the ventricles are getting filled with blood when the auricles are contracting. That is called diastolic pressure. And this blood pressure is measured in units millimeter of mercury. The normal systolic pressure is 120 millimeter of mercury, and the diastolic value is less, that is 80 millimeter of mercury. So we say that a normal human being has a normal blood pressure of 120 by 80 millimeter of mercury, where 120 is the upper value, that is the systolic value, and 80 mmHg is the lower value or the diastolic value. So we should know the values, and we should know the instrument used for measuring blood pressure, that is sphygmomanometer. So this is all about the blood circulatory system. Now we have said that apart from the blood circulatory system, there is another system of transportation in our body, that is the lymphatic system. Now what exactly this lymphatic system is composed of? This consists of a pale yellow or colorless fluid called lymph. This lymph carries large protein molecules, digested fats, and fragments of dead cells. This lymph seeps from the body cells into the lymph capillaries. So just like blood, lymph is also a fluid. Just like blood capillaries, lymph capillaries are there in which these lymph that flow. These are very tiny tubes. These lymph capillaries join to form bigger lymph vessels, just like blood vessels. Now these lymph vessels have lymph nodes or the lymph glands at intervals, and these lymph nodes or lymph glands, they contain special type of cells called lymphocytes. These lymphocytes just act like WBCs. How? Because they are also involved in cleaning the lymph and protecting the body from harmful disease causing microorganisms and germs which are present in lymph, right? Now all these lymph vessels, they will transport lymph to large veins from where they are carried to heart. So this is another system of transportation in our body, that is the lymphatic system. Let us see in our body how and where lymphatic system is present. This is our lymphatic system. Here we can see that there are various lymph capillaries which are quite small. These lymph capillaries are combining to form these larger lymph vessels, and there are various points in our body where lymph nodes or lymph glands are present, right? And all these collectively is passed on into the subclavian veins from where it is directed towards the heart. Clear? Now this lymph is quite important. Let us see what all functions lymph performs. Number one, lymph helps in the nutritive process of the body because it carries the digested and absorbed fat from the intestine. It carries the larger protein molecules, and it drains excess fluid from the extracellular space back into the blood. The second function of lymph is that just like WBCs, it also helps in the protection of the body by killing the germs drained out of the body tissues with the help of lymphocytes which are there in the lymph nodes, and by making antibodies just like WBCs. Another function of lymph is that it helps in removing the waste products like the fragments of dead cells. So these are the functions of lymph in our body. Now let us try to differentiate between blood and lymph. Blood is red in color. Why? Because of the presence of RBCs and hemoglobin. But because RBCs and hemoglobin are absent in lymph, therefore lymph is not red. It is colorless or pale yellow in color. Quite important difference is that blood flows bidirectional. That is, it flows from heart to organs and from organs to heart. Whereas the flow of lymph is unidirectional, that is from the tissues to the subclavian veins. In blood, the platelets are present. No such platelets are present in lymph. Blood is quite viscous, quite thick, whereas lymph, the viscosity or thickness is quite less. Blood flows quite rapidly, but the flow of lymph is quite slow. Blood carries nutrients, proteins, unabsorbed waste material and gases, whereas lymph carries less proteins, only the larger ones, and fat molecules. So these are the differences between blood and lymph. These are the two systems in our body which are used for transportation, right? So this is all about transportation in animals. Before ending up this lecture, let us try to revise what all we have done. We started up with the life process, transportation, getting the meaning of it and why it is important. It is the transportation of various substances from one part of the body to another. It is important because it is helpful in providing all the nutrients and necessary things to all the cells which need them for their survival. In transportation, we see that in animals there are two systems, blood circulatory system and lymphatic system. We started up with blood circulatory system first. Blood circulatory system consists of these three things: blood, blood vessels, and heart. In blood, we studied that blood is mainly composed of plasma, and in plasma, we have got RBCs, WBCs, and platelets which remain suspended in blood. Getting a bit details of RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. RBCs are red blood corpuscles or erythrocytes, mainly imparting red color to the blood. Enucleated, do not have any nucleus, have a very low, small lifespan, only 4 months. They are made in the bone marrow from the stem cells. They contain hemoglobin, which is the oxygen carrier or the respiratory pigment of the body. WBCs, or the white blood corpuscles, or the leukocytes, they are the soldiers of the body because they make antibodies and they provide immunity to the body, and they help in protecting the body, fighting with all the microorganisms and germs entering the body through various sources and various means. Platelets, they help in the coagulation of blood and preventing the further loss of blood from any kind of injury. Clear? This is all about blood. Functions of blood, we have seen protection, transportation, and mainly regulating the body temperature. Next, we talk about the blood vessels. Three type of blood vessels we talked: arteries, veins, and blood capillaries. Mainly, we saw the differences between arteries and veins. Arteries are thick-walled, veins are thin-walled, blood capillaries are very thin-walled. Arteries carry oxygenated blood except the pulmonary artery. Veins carry deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary vein. And capillaries, they carry both type of blood. Arteries carry blood from heart to body parts. Veins carry blood from body parts to heart. And capillaries connect arteries and veins. Valves are absent in arteries and capillaries. They are present only in veins. And the function of valves is to prevent the backflow of blood. The lumen of arteries is small, veins is quite wide, but in blood capillaries the lumen is very very small. Arteries are deeply seated in our body, veins are superficial, and blood capillaries are present all over, superficial also, deeply seated also. The blood flow is at a great pressure, at a great speed with jerks in case of arteries, and with less speed, less pressure and smooth in case of veins and blood capillaries. So these are the comparisons between the arteries, veins and blood capillaries. Quite importantly, we talked about the human heart. Important things to remember: the most important part and the main pumping organ of our body. The outer layer protecting it is pericardium. The muscular partition separating the heart in two equal parts is septum. Two chambers, both sides. The upper two chambers are called atrium or auricles, plural is atria. The lower chambers are ventricles. Valves are present between the auricles and the ventricles to prevent backflow of blood. The left part of the heart is for oxygenated blood. The right part is for deoxygenated blood. Auricles and ventricles, they contract and relax opposite to each other, but both auricles contract together, both ventricles contract together. Ventricles have got thick walls because they have to push blood to travel long distances. SA node is present in heart where origination of heartbeat starts, and pacemaker is artificial SA node, right? Very importantly, we talked about the double circulation in our humans. I think already it is basically quite colorful, but still try to relate that from lungs, blood goes to heart, then to body organs. Very important, we need to remember these four things and the functions of each of them when we are talking about the questions. The language of the question is very important, especially the prepositions. For example, name the blood vessel which carries oxygenated blood to heart. Now, if we are talking about the oxygenated blood being carried to heart, the answer is pulmonary vein. The blood vessel which carries oxygenated blood from heart. Now, just because of this particular preposition from, which is used instead of to, now our answer will change, because the blood vessel which carries oxygenated blood from heart is aorta. Similarly, name the blood vessel which carries deoxygenated blood to heart. This is vena cava, the main vein. And name the blood vessel which carries deoxygenated blood from heart, that is pulmonary artery. So carrying oxygenated blood to heart or from heart, carrying deoxygenated blood to heart or from heart, they are very important. You need to make sure to observe what exactly is being asked in the question and accordingly write your answer. Clear? So many other things. The left side deals with the oxygenated blood, the right side deals with the deoxygenated blood. Again, the auricles receive the blood, the ventricles push the blood. Circulation, double circulation because of pulmonary circulation between lungs and heart, and systemic circulation between heart and body parts. Okay. Then we saw that fishes have two-chambered heart, reptiles and amphibians have three-chambered heart, mammals and birds have four-chambered heart. The reason we have already understood. It is because fishes through gills oxygen is all taken care of. Reptiles and amphibians cold-blooded, they can tolerate mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Mammals and birds warm-blooded, cannot tolerate the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated. That is why four chambers are there, always to make sure that the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are kept separated. Clear? Next, we talked about blood pressure, mainly the instrument, that is sphygmomanometer, and the systolic and diastolic values. The unit in which it is measured, millimeter of mercury. Systolic value is 120 mmHg and diastolic value is 80 mmHg, right? If it is more than this, we call it hypertension or high blood pressure. If it is lesser than this, then it is called low BP. Both of them are equally harmful. Why? Because if the BP is high, then the blood is flowing at great pressure. So especially the blood capillaries, they are very thin walled, and if the blood pressure is more than what it should be, then the blood capillaries will rupture. And that is, we have seen so many times that so many people, especially in summers, they have got blood coming out of their nose. Or we have heard so many times that there is a blood clot formed in the brain, that some capillary has burst in the brain, and because of that the blood has oozed out. So that is because of high BP. Low BP is also a concern because the blood should flow with a normal pressure, and the blood, because of its pressure, it is supplying oxygen to all the body cells the way it should. But if the blood pressure is less, that means that the rate at which oxygen is supplied, that becomes slow. And if the supply of oxygen is slowed down, then obviously this oxygen we know is involved in the oxidation of food. So the oxidation of food will be slowed down, and the oxidation of food is releasing energy. That energy will be lesser and slower. That is why a person with low blood pressure faints or feels the weakness, because the energy supply is not appropriate. Fine. So the blood pressure has to be optimum and normal in the body. Apart from the circulatory system, we studied about the lymphatic system, mainly consisting of lymph, a fluid flowing in lymph capillaries joining to form lymph vessels. In lymph vessels, there are various lymph nodes or lymph glands containing cells, lymphocytes, which act as WBCs, helps in protection, fighting against the disease-causing microorganisms. Right? Then we studied about the functions of lymph, nutritive process, they help in that. Protection by making antibodies and fighting germs with the help of lymphocytes, and removal of waste products like fragments of dead cells. Last but not the least, we discussed about the differences between blood and lymph. So this is all about our transportation in humans, both the systems, that is the circulatory system, which is also called the blood circulatory system, and the lymphatic system. So I'll be winding up this lecture here only, and I would like you people to go through all the details, especially the human heart and especially the double circulation part. All the blood vessels, the functions of those blood vessels, pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein, aorta and vena cava, main vein, main artery, about the chambers, about the circulation part, how and from where it takes place. Got it? Completed. And then in the next lecture, we are going to complete this life processes. We are still left with the process of transportation in plants, and one another life process is still left, that is the process of excretion. We'll be taking both of them in the next lecture. Till then, study hard. Make sure that you have learnt all the details about the transportation system in animals, that is the blood circulatory system and lymphatic system. And we'll just meet in the next lecture and completing up the chapter. Fine. So guys, time to leave. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy, stay happy. And thank you so much for being with me. Make sure that you are learning side by side. By now, after every lecture, in the end, you must be very much habitual of my this sentence, because I always advise my students to make sure learning is very important. If you don't do it, it will create a burden on you later on. Fine? So with the same as usual acquainted words, I'll take your leave. Take care. Thanks for being with me. Take care of yourself.